Migrants are being encouraged to complain about their social housing. The government has distributed leaflets in 8 languages: Arabic, Bengali, Gujarati, Polish, Romanian, Urdu, Somali and Punjabi. The English version reads, "Social housing issue? Know your rights, know how to complain." It outlines the steps to take, reading, "If you live in social housing and you have an issue with your home, there are ways to make things right. Report it to the landlord, likely a council or housing association, complain through your landlord's complaint process, and if you're not happy with the final response, escalate it to the housing ombudsman." The Make Things Right campaign tells migrants everyone deserves a safe and secure home. You can also get help if you've complained to your landlord and they've been impolite or disrespectful, suggested it is wrong to complain, or told you that problems have been caused by your lifestyle or religion. The scheme is also open to British citizens. The advice was brought out by the Tories under the Rishi Sunak government, but has been updated and reissued this October under the Labour government. That the advice has been distributed in various foreign languages will prompt questions about who's eligible to live in our social housing, with more than 1.3 million British households on the waiting list for a home. In October, Migration Watch revealed more than 70% of social housing in London was occupied by foreign-born residents, and this week it emerged a third of Glasgow pupils do not speak English as their native language. As Scots learned, the waiting list for a local family with 3 children had hit 100 years.
Now, it seems that just about everyone from the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary to Nigel Farage agrees that open borders has been a disaster for Britain, and today's news that nearly 1 in 3 children in Glasgow do not speak English as their first language seems to illustrate the sheer scale of change over these past 30 years. Now, Glasgow itself accommodates more asylum seekers than any other local authority in the UK, subsequently earning its name as Britain's asylum capital. Well, I'm joined now by the former SNP Glasgow City Councillor, Austin Sheridan. Austin, welcome to the show. The figures released today, Austin, are stark. 28.8% of all pupils in Glasgow speak English as an additional language, and that's up 1/3 since 2019. Is this a concern?
Well, it's not a concern because it simply states it isn't their first language, but it doesn't mean that they don't speak English and they're not integrating into our society. We also have to bear in mind as well that although the numbers in Glasgow would be smaller than other parts of Scotland, is that some pupils in Scotland, Gaelic or Scots would be their first language before English. And that's something that's been recognised by the Scottish Government through legislation that just passed there on the 30th of November, St Andrew's Day. But as I say, the most important thing though is to look at is how are they integrating into our society, and what you'll find is that those young people are multilingual. They are coming to a country sometimes where in war in places like Ukraine, and I think that we should all accept that that we should offer the hand of friendship and hand of help to those young people, and they're making efforts to learn English and integrate into our society.
Austin, the point is, your mention of Gaelic there is a complete non-starter. Less than 1%
Gaelic,
of Scots.
not Gaelic.
Okay, less than 1% speak Gaelic. Less than 1%. It's an incomparable statistic to the fact that an entire third of children in Glasgow now speak English as a second language. That's gone up by 1/3, and it's gone up by 1/3 for political reasons. The SNP has thrown open the doors, and that's because it's a city of sanctuary and the council gets paid money. Did anybody ever vote for this?
Well, I'll tell you what, Gaelic is very significant to Scotland. In actual fact, 2% of Scotland's population speak it. Glasgow has Gaelic schools within it. And those pupils that attend there, they would consider Gaelic being their first language before English. So these things are significant. It isn't just a case of it's just people that are coming in from abroad that view English as their first language. As I say, Gaelic and Scots are recognised languages in Scotland. So that should be appreciated. But what we're also looking at here is we're talking about English not being their first language. It doesn't mean that they do not speak English. There will be young people that come to this country that do struggle with their English, and they get the support that they need in order to learn the English language in order to integrate into our communities. And in terms of swinging doors open, you will be aware that the Scottish Parliament does not have control over immigration. That is a policy wholly reserved to Westminster.
You can blame Westminster all you like. The fact of the matter is Glasgow is the asylum capital of Britain. And here's the point. There is a, quote, severe housing emergency in Glasgow. Glasgow families with three or more children face a 100-year wait for social housing. Meanwhile, if you go to Glasgow or Scotland, anywhere in Scotland, as an asylum seeker, you are granted preferential treatment because anybody who's declared unintentionally homeless gets an automatic house. Homeless people, asylum seekers, are flocking to Scotland from all over the United Kingdom because they get put in front of the queues ahead of Scottish residents. I put it to you, the SNP, these policies are hollowing Scotland out, and there could be a political awakening if you're not careful.
Well, I put it to you that the fact of the matter is that immigration is in control of Westminster. That is not something that the Scottish Parliament has any control over. Glasgow specifically...
What's the point of the SNP if you're going to blame Westminster for everything?
Glasgow specifically faces problems because of contracts that are put in place by the Home Office. We have explicitly said that we need urgent help from the Home Office in Glasgow in order to help with the crisis that they're in control of. And at the end of the day, if we don't get that help, then there may come a time where we're going to have to stop providing that support. But we have been in contact with the Home Office. We have made very clear the pressures that are on Glasgow.
Austin, Scottish governmental rules dictate that councils must house anybody who's unintentionally homeless in the country, including asylum seekers. Nothing to do with Westminster. That's to do with Holyrood.
You said preferential treatment. You said preferential treatment. But what you've said there is it's not preferential treatment towards asylum seekers. So let's make sure that we stick to the fact of the matter, right? So they're not getting preferential treatment. They're getting the same treatment as anybody who's homeless would receive. What the problem in Glasgow specifically are contracts that they have in place with the Home Office. The council in Glasgow have said that they're not working and that we need the Home Office to offer additional support to the city because of the housing crisis. Because if the same applied to everywhere in Scotland, it wouldn't just be the Glasgow local authority. It would be all local authorities in Scotland. The problems in Glasgow are faced by contracts by the Home Office. The Home Office needs to help Glasgow meet the needs of the contracts that they have with us.
How about if Scotland helps itself and changes its policy on housing asylum seekers in a preferential manner to your local residents? This has nothing to do with Westminster, nothing to do with the Home Office.
No, it is.
Own it.
I mean, Westminster control immigration, and these are contracts that we're talking about that are set up with the Home Office. It's not to do with the policies of all 32 local authorities in Scotland, because if it were to do with the policies of all 32 local authorities in Scotland, every single local authority would be facing the same pressures that Glasgow has. I'm afraid that the fact of the matter is that you're mistaken the policies that we have on housing in Scotland for a problem that is in fact in relation to Home Office contracts. The Glasgow City Council leader has made perfectly clear to the Home Office that the current situation is unacceptable and that Glasgow needs additional support in order for those contractual obligations to be met.
OK, let's leave it there. Thanks for your time. I really do appreciate it. That's the former SNP Glasgow City Councillor Austin Sheridan. Quick reaction from my panel, Joe and Serrano. Joe, come to you first. There's a reason that Scotland is being swamped with asylum seekers, and that is their door is wide open to all of Europe. You reap what you sow.
He has just said very clearly that asylum seekers do not get preferential treatment. And yes, there are... a
100-year wait for Glasgow families with 3 kids or more.
That is
100 years.
That is a matter for Glasgow City Council. But what he said twice, to make it absolutely clear to you, Martin, was that nobody gets preferential treatment. What he also said, more than
twice... Tell that to the Glasgow locals.
Well, you could say that about any council in any part of the British Isles where there's a huge waiting list. But all the time you talk about people swamping it, you are stirring up foment and nastiness, which is quite unnecessary. Because the other thing that he made really clear...
The problem is my choice of words, and not a housing emergency where it takes 100 years for a Glasgow family to get a house. No, the problem are my words. Come on.
He made it very clear that they are caught between the Home Office and the Home Office contracts with the people who are housing asylum seekers, which is not Glasgow City Council's problem. Just to go back to the original point of this, which is about languages. So you've got, what was it, 1 in 3?
Yep.
Actually, you could look at it the other way and say that all of those children are speaking more than one language. Scotland has always been welcoming to other people. Huge number of
Until very
polls.
recently, it was like 99% white. It's the whitest part of Britain, apart
so
from
it's
Wales.
black people you object to.
I'm talking about the facts of the matter. The ethnic makeup of the country is changing.
Well, the ethnic makeup of everywhere is changing, but if you only want white people...
I'm not saying that.
Well, that's what it sounded like.
No, I did not.
Well, it did.
You're making this about my language again, and not about a housing emergency in Glasgow.
Well, I thought we were talking about language. My point is this, that Scotland has always welcomed people. There are a huge number of Italian immigrants in Scotland, particularly in Glasgow. There are a huge number. I don't know how many.
It'd be a tiny amount compared to the proportional and the speed of change that's happening
The Scottish government, when it was Labour, the Scottish government opened the doors to Poles. They've got a huge Polish population, and I would challenge people outside of Birmingham, the best curries you'll get will be in Glasgow. They've got a very diverse and have been very welcoming. They do not see themselves as swamped.
Serrano,
and we should look at these children as something that is good, that children can speak more than one language.
Serrano, don't worry about it. There's a 100-year waiting list for a house, but it's fine. We can get a decent curry.
Well, look,
it's nonsense, Joe.
Well, first of all, can I say that I do think the rate of immigration is part of the problem. It's leading to these challenges around languages. It's leading to resentment on housing. It's leading to a whole host of things. The rate of immigration that there used to be in Scotland and across frankly, all of this country used to be much lower. And it's as a result, I think, of the spike that we've seen in recent times, both illegal and legal, and I'll be honest about that we've now got a problem where there isn't that sense of assimilation anymore. There used to be a driver for children of immigrants, and I am one, to want to integrate with wider society. That seems to have changed as a result of the driving up of the rate, where now communities made up solely of a foreign ethnic origin, are able to live, speak, and, teach their own culture separate from anything else in Britain. I think that's the problem. Britain has always been a welcoming country, but with a much lower rate of immigration, so that integration could take place. And I think that's the thing that the government really needs to solve. Now, it is interesting that we're seeing a lot of the people who came in the so-called Boris wave now leaving the UK. So is it possible that those rates come down? No. A lot of Europeans and indeed people from further afield as well. So you're right, there are people leaving the UK who are British citizens, leaving it largely as a result of the tax changes. But I think there are plenty of people who did come to this country who are now leaving too. So we'll have to see what happens.
Okay, thank you very much.